down the band with your left arm, heart rate, the this
Hello, I'm Joyce Woodworth. Welcome to the Spirit of the Heartland. It is July 2010, and we are at the grand opening of the Laird Norton addition to the Winona History Center. This gala event has brought together the architects, the staff, and the donors to this beautiful new addition to the Winona County Historical Society, now deservedly called the Winona History Center. This beautiful building depicts the culmination of several years of raising over $4.5 million donated by over 1,000 community members, truly representing the importance of history to us and the respect for this organization. Tonight we'll talk with the architect to learn about the unique features of the building, and we'll talk with some of the donors to get their reactions to Winona's new and old History Center. Well, we're sitting here on the steps of the now finished Laird Norton addition, and it has turned out so beautiful. And I'm sitting with Joan Serrano, who is the main architect and designer of the new addition, and she is from the HGA Architects Incorporated out of Minneapolis. And we're going to talk with her a little bit about her design ideas and maybe bring in some of the special designs that makes this building unique. Hi, Joan.
Hi, Joyce.
Well, welcome to the Spirit of the Heartland.
Thank you.
And I mean that in more ways than one, because you have designed this beautiful building for us in the Spirit of the Heartland.
Very much so.
It is gorgeous. Now, you have, I understand, been working as an architect and designing buildings for over 25 years, which is hard to believe.
It is, and we focus primarily on cultural projects, mainly museums and religious work. So I've been doing that for about 25 years now.
All right, and how many museums have you designed?
I would say probably worked on about a dozen and had a design role in about 6 of them. Before we got this project, this was actually the first time I'd ever been to Winona. I had never been here. I'm not originally from Minnesota and had never visited. So before we interviewed for the project, I spent a day here going around the town. And what I was struck by as a first-time visitor was both the natural beauty, the bluffs and the Mississippi, but also the incredible architectural legacy that you have in Winona. You've got some pretty extraordinary buildings from all different architectural periods. What we were trying to do is do a little bit of a yin-yang, where the Armory building is very heavy, it's very opaque, the windows are small. So we thought to do a contrast, something that would be both a contrast but also complementary to the building, but one that is very light-filled, that is a lot more lighter, brighter, to give you that contrast and sense of awareness of the difference between old and new. It was very important for us to both honor the past, but also begin to reflect the values and traditions of the 21st century, because history does not end, it does not stop, it continues. And so I think even for a history museum, it's important that as you grow and as you evolve, that you incorporate contemporary styles of architecture, because 50 years from now, they will be historical styles.
Now, you used a lot of ornamentation in this building, very subtle ornamentation, contemporary type ornamentation. But I think you're going to have to describe a lot of it so we understand it, because some of it is rather unseen, but it's very significant.
Yes, well, the brick colonnade at the front is a series of corbelled brick pieces that kind of corbel back. And if you look at it straight on, it's asymmetrical. And again, that asymmetry is pointing in a very subtle way towards the main entry, which is at the Armory. That colonnade is a very intricate detail of brick. And when the sun hits it, there's a lot of shade and shadow and interesting things that go across the surface. So it's a very abstract version of ornamentation, but again, one that is very highly detailed.
And why did you choose the entrance to go into the old part of the building?
That was part of honoring the past. I guess it was very important for us, this notion that you actually are entering the past and moving into the present. Also, quite frankly, on some level, we felt like we couldn't rival the beauty of that arched entry. To me, it's the most beautiful piece of the Armory. It's a very powerful thing, and so to deny that if you look at these two buildings together, there's no doubt where the entry is.
Let's talk about the textured wall behind us.
When we were doing research on this project, we looked at a lot of archival photos. I looked at a photo of, it was a series of stacked logs, and there was something really powerful about those logs stacked. And so what we did was we scanned that photo and then basically tried to do a very abstracted composition of those logs, which is reflected in that pattern behind us. And then we thought, again, because this was a lumber town, if we did that pattern in wood, there would be a nice tie to the history of Winona.
What about the green window above the main windows in the lobby?
Two things. One of the things I learned in my research of Winona is that stained glass was a huge art form in the city for many decades. And when I was touring around the city prior to interviewing for the project, I went into the Watkins Museum. And I was looking around and I was really struck by all these little bottles of colored liquid. The one bottle that really stood out in my mind was this green, which I think is pineapple. And when we started conceiving this window system, this curtain wall, and thinking about the stained glass tradition and the whole notion of colored glass, it came pretty quickly to us that maybe we could incorporate that color green into the main facade. The window is set way back. There's very deep shadows. So when you look at both of these buildings combined, they both have very deep recesses. So that was a very strong design point on the main facade. I think some of the interesting things we did was on the exterior, we uplit the brick colonnade and then the brick arched opening of the armory. So at night, those portals, those openings, read very strongly. And so that was something we wanted to highlight because, again, the brickwork is so beautiful, both in the armory and I think the new. On the inside, obviously, by exposing this existing wall that kind of places the addition next to this, the original armory. And we use materials like the wood and copper, which is found, not only in this building, but all over Winona to, again, kind of root it or ground it.
What about the terrace? What was the reason for putting back such a, I think it's a lovely setback terrace?
There were two things that mattered to us. One, I noticed that higher up, you had really spectacular views of not only the courthouse, but also the bluffs. The idea of being up and being outside and being able to see those connections was an interesting idea to me. But then frankly, by not having the wall of the addition slam up against the second floor of the armory, you expose that beautiful brick corner of the armory with those windows. Instead, it allows the armory to breathe a little bit.
Sure. Tell me about the use of recycled materials. Is that something that you commonly do, or is this quite unusual?
I would say this is quite unusual for a museum. I have not been involved with a museum where we've used salvaged materials to this degree. I think it was very fortuitous that when we were planning this, that the two buildings down the block were actually being planned to be demolished. And we went over there one day and saw both buildings and saw the extraordinary stone and wood and began thinking, well, we're planning a new wood floor. We're planning wood stairs. We're planning a wood ceiling. This would be a perfect match. So it's something we embraced right away when we saw both of those buildings and the materials. The whole idea of sustainability and being able to reuse materials, I think, is something that's very important to us.
Tell me, what are some of the things that you are the proudest of in this building?
On the outside, I really love the way the copper and the brick not only go together, but also kind of mesh with the armory building. On the inside, I love the feeling of warmth. And I think a lot of that has to do with this salvaged wood. It's such an incredibly beautiful, warm material that it just feels very embracing, very warm. Frankly, a space where, you reinforce the idea of community gathering. I also, just in being here, I like to see everybody's smiling faces. It seems everybody's really happy about the building. And frankly, as an architect, that's really what brings me the greatest joy, is when people are happy. And people seem very happy here.
really want to get your impression of the new building. What do you think?
Oh, it's stunning, absolutely stunning. I can't believe the woodwork and all of the beautiful architectural features. Unbelievable. I'm just very impressed.
I'm glad to hear that. Well, Tom, what are your impressions after coming in out of the rain? Was it worth it?
Oh, definitely. Well, I was very enthusiastic with the design that the architect presented to the board. Plus, I worked with your husband in, let's say, fundraising. So I enjoyed it very much, and so I felt a part of the community, part of this organization, so I'm here to enjoy it this evening.
Good. Well, you do enjoy it,
We
okay?
enjoy history, and this is a wonderful addition to our community and to our state.
As the people poured in the building, the weather outside got more exciting. The rain and hail pelted down on the terrace and around the lamppost, but the atmosphere inside was warm and friendly. I'm standing here in the Sloggy family lobby with Barb and Steve Sloggy, who actually kind of came to the rescue of the whole Capitol campaign. They were raising money in the middle of the economy crunch, and you guys gave it a brand new incentive. Tell me, why is it so important? Why is the History Center so important to you, Barb?
Well, I think not only because of our family having a strong tradition in Winona County, but we felt that with the Historical Society covers a lot of territory. So it's not just for Winona, it's Winona County Historical Society. And we just felt really pumped up about being able to participate in something that was so widespread. So
what do you think of the lobby now? What do you think of it?
I'm in awe. It is so well done. I watched the progress, although I was never inside, but I knew with the board that they had and the leadership of Mr. Peterson that it was going to turn out to be great, and from what we've seen so far, this is just terrific. Just terrific.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Does it take your breath away, Barb?
it certainly does. It's just beyond what I ever thought could happen in such a small amount of time and in such a small amount of space.
I want to thank you both for your boost to the campaign, and you've done a wonderful job, and this is a beautiful lobby that people will enjoy for years.
We're here as supporters, but as I'm looking around the room, there's several hundred people that I believe are all supporters, so big donations, small donations, it doesn't matter. They're all here to support the Winona County Historical Society, and that's just terrific. I'm very proud of our city and county.
One of the displays in the Sloggy family lobby tells the history of how the Historical Society in Winona actually got its start. Seen on the display is a picture of its founder, Mildred Sebo. Mildred's grandniece is part of the celebration this evening. How would Mildred feel about this?
Mildred would be just ecstatic. When she was here in 1955 and again later, she was just enthused about it, and this would just please her no end. And to see her honored is really wonderful. And the museum itself is a tremendous facility. And all this open space, at first I thought, what will they do with it? They will use it, and we will enjoy it.
The party flowed nicely into the Armory building, which recently had its false ceiling removed and the original arch ceiling exposed. Well, I found my favorite little nook here at the Winona History Center. It's where the drinking fountain is. It's on the second floor, right next to Mark Peterson's office. And actually, they found this down in the basement somewhere, and it used to be underneath the stairs when there was the roller skating rink on the first floor. And I used to come many times roller skating right up to this fountain and taking a drink during one of the breaks. This is Mickey and Dan Barr, longtime Winona residents. What's your impression of the new building?
Well, I think somebody spent a lot of time and effort to make this an absolutely fabulous place.
Mickey, what do you think?
Definitely. Well, I've been coming here for meetings in this room upstairs, and I'm looking forward to coming and just wandering around everywhere. This is a place I want to spend a lot of time in.
That's good to hear. And I saw you were like really examining this flatliner. This is quite an exhibit, isn't it?
We're from Detroit, so once you're, I'm a gearhead forever, but this does hold a number of world land speed records. So a lot of people don't know that, but there are people from all over the world competing at Bonneville, and our little local guys here are holding the record, so that's very cool.
Actually, and that's just one of the many wonderful things in this museum.
Oh my, you could spend a long time.
You could come here every day and spend all day and not see everything in, 5 years maybe? It's almost like going to the Louvre.
Yeah, but I think more importantly, the building looks like it's going to be very user-friendly for a lot of people. I mean, we really need a place like this that doesn't have to have all the complete glitz, but a nice place to hold meetings, learn things, get together. It's going to be a very, very usable building. We worked hard through the Winona Hymns to raise some money for this, too.
Isn't it? It's so wonderful that organizations come together to help other organizations.
Boy, I think you're absolutely right.
Well, this is Rod Nelson from Merchants National Bank, and I know Merchants was a real strong contributor to this project. Do you think it was worth it?
Joyce, we already have our investment returned, I think. Isn't this a beautiful building and a facility that will, we were the best in the state before, and now we're even better. Isn't that something?
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, what was your opinion when you walked into that lobby?
I was told about the wood before. Well, it was and I think there was an article on it, but you can't imagine how beautiful it is until you actually see it. The architect here did a wonderful, wonderful job, so it's just exciting. It's pretty simple. We're a community bank, so if you invest in the community, it comes back, and this is a wonderful community. A historic society is a key part of that, so life is good.
It's so wonderful that we are embracing the history of our county and doing it in such a magnificent way. So I just think it's fantastic.
And what a wonderful turnout.
Oh, I can't believe all the people. Yeah, and it's going to be a great asset to the community because it'll provide wonderful meeting spaces and places for conferences, bring a lot of people together. So
I think a lot of people have your opinion. They're kind of in awe when they come in.
Yeah, my jaw kind of dropped when I walked in the new addition. It's just fantastic space.
I served on the building committee, and it was one of the true joys of my life. I just told the architect that I just had so much fun with the idea of building a bold building for Winona, and one that was quality and thought out to the nth degree, every detail. It was just really fun.
Well, and it turned out beautiful, don't you think?
It turned out better than I anticipated, and I had high expectations. As a matter of fact, I cried when I was in here the other day.
Really?
Truly did. I was just overwhelmed with its wonder.
Yeah, it is truly a masterpiece for this century.
Absolutely, and I think it sets the standard of a modern building in Winona. We have such beautiful 19th and 20th century architecture. It's nice to have an icon of new architecture.
What are the real special things that you think are so unique that really make it special for you?
The thing I disliked as we were planning was the colonnade at the very beginning, but when I first saw it, it was white. It was in development stage. I have come to absolutely love that colonnade because it varies in distance between the columns. The columns vary in their size and dimension. It's very, very subtle. It's subtle like a Mark Rothko painting. It's just a beautiful expression of modern architecture. Probably never done anyplace else before.
Now we see a lot of beautiful rooms out here in the front, but you have some hidden rooms as well. And some of those hidden rooms are partially the reason that you expanded. Tell us about those hidden rooms back there.
Well, we have lots of rooms, and our hidden rooms are mostly having to do with our collection storage spaces. And we did create a large part of this new addition is sort of an invisible, behind-the-scenes space for our collection storage. And eventually, it wasn't part of this budget this time, but eventually we're going to have movable shelving in there so we can maximize the storage capacity of that space.
And of course, you also have a catering kitchen to feed all these people in here.
Oh,
Beautiful.
absolutely. I think we're sort of ahead of the curve in a big way in creating the kind of space that we did so that we can drive people into the museum. You've got to create kind of a go-to place with parties and receptions and meetings and governor's debates and all of this sort of stuff and be a focal point for the community, much like the Armory always was with the dances and the boxing and the wrestling and roller skating and all of that. We're just sort of continuing that same tradition.
There's a very special room on the second floor with a glass wall overlooking the lobby. This multi-purpose room, titled Wannock Hall, has state-of-the-art push-button mechanical and technical equipment, a fabulous copper ceiling in the same abstract log stack pattern, which you see on the textured wood panel at the back of the lobby, and a detailed mural depicting 3 eras from Winona's history. I'm standing with the Wannock family. This is Karen and Sherry and Joyce Wannock. Joyce is Mrs. Ron Wannock, and Ron and the family members contributed enough money to build this beautiful multi-purpose room here upstairs of the Laird Norton Addition. And then they came up with this great mural. And now, who painted the mural?
Ben Golden, right back here. He did a lot of research into the pictures and everything and put the collage together to present this for the Winona County.
Now, there's one very special person up here on the mural, and James Reed. Can you tell us who he is?
My husband's great-great-great-grandfather. He was first settler in Winona County, and he's buried in Trempealeau.
He was the first settler in Winona County, and I understand that your husband, Ron, has a real connection to history, really enjoys history.
Loves history, yes.
So he felt then that he wanted to honor his great-great-great-grandfather?
Right.
And where's Ron tonight? I was hoping he would talk with us.
Yes, he's in Czech Republic.
That's a real good excuse.
Yes, learning about ancestors.
Well, how does it feel to have your family be a part of the Historical Society here?
We're very proud to be a part of it and to be involved in creating something like this. It's very, very nice.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming here and representing the Wannock family.
Thank you.
We're very pleased to be here.
This is Ben Golden, who is the designer of the mural, and I really like it. It's wonderful. I know it's done in 3 sections. Let's tell us about the 3 sections.
The first section is actually the pioneer era, and Reed was one of the first white men here, so we started with Reed. She was one of the first pioneer women. She had probably a really rough life, but she started, it's more of a boarding school and the first church. The second section would be the logging era, and the third would be the industrial. And it describes the settlers, and then right into the logging, how it made Winona what it really is. It grew in like a mushroom overnight, and we explain it through all the things that are happening in the mural, and then some of the key players and individuals that have been promoting and bringing the economy to Winona.
Did a great job. People will enjoy it for years.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Wannock returned from Prague a week after the History Center's gala opening, where I met with him in Wannock Hall to ask him about his contribution and the importance of the History Center to his family.
Well, I grew up in this area and lived in Winona, and my grandparents lived in Winona, and uncles lived here, and so it was always interesting to me, and they'd always talk about a lot of these businesses and always respected a lot of the entrepreneurs. And so one of the things that I really wanted to do was a salute to the entrepreneurs, who brought a lot of wealth to this area and who really don't get credit for a lot of the beautiful buildings and a lot of the wealth that was created here and redistributed through jobs and investments and employment, and a lot to do with the history of Winona. So my uncles worked for the McConnens. My dad worked for Watkins for a while in addition to farming. Really, the history of Winona isn't that old. And you talk to people that had been here a while, grandparents, great-grandparents, and you went back quite almost to the beginning of Winona. And so it was always interesting to me, and it was in my means to be able to help them out with this hall here. And it was something we enjoyed doing, and we're also in the furniture business, and I think this is done in very good taste, and we also hope that people will be inspired by it and copy it. And the whole facility here is very well done, and it's a real compliment to Winona and something we wanted to support.
So what do you think of the new building?
Well, I think it's really exciting. My first impression was it was fun to look around and see what used to be and how it's been changed into a wonderful new, exciting facility. My feeling is this is a real community endeavor. I grew up in Minneapolis, and I know something like this happening in the Twin Cities, there would be a certain in-group of people who would give to things like this. But in Winona, it's everybody in Winona gives.
This is great. Yeah. Well, and nice to have the two of you together. You honestly, you have contributed so much to this organization. You should be very proud.
Thank you. A lot of time as well as other things. So, yeah, we are very proud.
We should be proud of Lori.
Oh, and
because
Barbie.
she has put in tons of hours.
Absolutely.
It's been a labor of love. It really has. I mean, this is just something special for Winona.
This really does open up some new opportunities for the society and a whole new era for the organization. We're 75 years old this year, and I think we're well positioned to move into the next 25, 50, 100 years and prosper.
Good. Congratulations.
Okay, well, thank you, Joyce.
It has really been a pleasure to be at the grand opening of the Winona History Center and see the positive acceptance of all those who attended tonight's gala event. The beautiful new Laird Norton addition, along with the old Armory building it is attached to, work well together to collect and protect our history, exhibit it, and share it with the generations to follow. I'm Joyce Woodworth. Thanks for joining me. Please join me again next week on the Spirit of the Heartland.